The Baltic Sea, 0741 hours local time, 23 nautical miles west of the island of Gotland, in water that is 120 meters deep and the particular shade of steel gray that comes from a February sky pressing down on a sea that receives no direct sunlight for 11 hours of the day. 2 United States Navy guided missile destroyers are conducting a freedom of navigation transit. The USS Donald Cook, DDG-75, and Arleigh Burke, Flight 2, a destroyer, a ship with a history in these waters that Russian state media has spent years mischaracterizing, and American naval officers have spent years ignoring, is leading, maintaining 18 knots on a northeasterly heading toward the approaches of the Gulf of Finland. 8 nautical miles astern, the USS Laboon, DDG-58, of Flight 1 Arleigh Burke, holds the same course. Her AN/SPY-1DV, phased array radar painting the airspace and surface in every direction, with the methodical patience of a system that has been running continuously for 11 days. Together, they constitute Task Group 60.1, operating under 6th Fleet tasking as part of a sustained NATO Allied presence operation in the Baltic that has been continuous since the alliance's forward posture adjustment of 2022. The Russian Federation's Baltic Fleet, headquartered at Baltisk in the Kaliningrad Oblast exclave, has been watching this transit with the combination of professional attention and institutional frustration that has characterized its relationship with American naval presence in the Baltic for the better part of 3 years. The Baltic is not a large sea. Its maximum width is approximately 650 kilometers, and at certain points, the distance between NATO member coastlines and Russian territorial waters is narrow enough that a transit by 2 American destroyers constitutes an unambiguous demonstration of operational reach into what Russian strategic doctrine treats as a critical buffer zone. The Russian Navy cannot prevent this transit. Its surface combatants are outmatched by the American ships in nearly every capability category that matters in open water naval operations. Its submarine force in the Baltic is constrained by the sea's shallow depth, averaging 55 meters across the basin, which limits conventional submarine operations in ways that make submerged transit and concealed approach geometry nearly impossible to sustain against a towed array sonar. What the Russian Baltic Fleet does possess, in quantities and qualities that have been the subject of extensive NATO intelligence reporting since 2014, is electronic warfare capability, specifically the R-330Zh ZTEL. And this morning, 3 of them are active. The R-330Zh, the Resident, in its literal translation, is a Russian ground-based electronic warfare system mounted on a wheeled vehicle chassis designed for wide-spectrum communications jamming and GPS signal suppression across a frequency range that covers the L-band GPS carrier frequencies used by both military and civilian navigation systems. It is operated by the 15th Electronic Warfare Brigade of the Russian Western Military District, and 3 of its vehicles have been deployed to positions in the Kaliningrad Oblast at locations that Russian engineers selected specifically for their geometric relationship to the Baltic transit corridors used by NATO naval vessels. The R-330Zh can suppress GPS signal reception across an area extending to approximately 600 kilometers in favorable propagation conditions, with degradation of positioning accuracy ranging from tens of meters at the outer range to complete signal denial within approximately 150 kilometers of the emitter positions. 3 of them, operating in a coordinated suppression geometry, are capable of generating GPS denial conditions across the entire southern Baltic Sea basin simultaneously. At 0741 hours, all 3 R-330Zh systems activate within a 4-second window. The GPS suppression operation begins. What happens next in the navigation systems aboard the USS Donald Cook and USS Laboon does not involve confusion, disorientation, or any disruption to either vessel's ability to navigate, operate its weapon systems, or execute its mission. What happens next is the orderly pre-planned transition to the redundant navigation architecture that both ships maintain specifically because GPS denial has been an assessed operational risk in Baltic transits for 7 years, and the pre-planned response to that risk has been trained, rehearsed, and integrated into every navigational watch procedure aboard both ships since 2019. The GPS signal degradation is detected by both ships' navigation systems within 0.8 seconds of the R-330Zh activation. The automated transition to the backup navigation mode, a combination of the AN/WSN-7B ring laser gyrocompass inertial navigation system, the Lorentz C radio navigation system, the Doppler velocity log, and continuous celestial navigation cross-checks from the ship's automated star tracker, executes without any command input from the bridge watch team. By the time the officer of the deck on the Donald Cook has registered the GPS degradation indicator on his navigation display, the ship's position solution has already been re-established to within 18 meters of true position using the inertial navigation system alone. 18 meters. The AN/WSN-7B ring laser gyrocompass, which operates on the principle of Sagnac effect measurement to determine rotation rate and accumulate position through inertial reckoning, provides position accuracy that degrades over time as integration errors accumulate, but over the time scale of a Baltic transit, measured in hours rather than days. The accumulated error is measured in tens of meters. Tens of meters is fully adequate for safe navigation in 120-meter deep water, with the geographic landmarks and radar-confirmed position references that the Baltic provides in abundance. GPS denial in the Baltic Sea is not a navigation crisis. It is an inconvenience that American naval engineers anticipated and designed around before the R-330Zh completed its own development program. But the Russian electronic warfare operation this morning extends beyond GPS suppression, and the second element is more sophisticated and more revealing of the actual intent behind the deployment. At 0743 hours, 2 minutes after the R-330Zh activation, the electronic intelligence receivers aboard the Donald Cook detect a second emission signature on a frequency band distinct from the GPS suppression field. This signature is consistent with the Krasukha-4 broadband multifunction electronic warfare system, a truck-mounted Russian EW platform designed for active jamming of airborne radar systems, specifically targeting the frequency bands used by NATO airborne early warning and reconnaissance aircraft. The Krasukha-4 emission is coming from a position inside Kaliningrad's eastern sector. Its beam aimed northeast toward the Gulf of Finland approaches. Its immediate target is not the destroyers. Its immediate target is the P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft operating at 21,000 feet, 140 nautical miles to the northeast, whose AN/APY-10 radar has been providing continuous radar coverage of the transit corridor since 0612 hours. And then, at 0746 hours, a third emission layer, active radar jamming on the frequency band of the AN/SPY-1DV radar aboard both destroyers, generated from a position in the central Kaliningrad Oblast that electronic intelligence analysis correlates with the Murmansk-BN high-frequency direction finding and jamming complex, a fixed installation designed for long-range electronic attack against naval radar systems at ranges exceeding 1,000 kilometers. The Murmansk-BN's jamming is not capable of blinding the AN/SPY-1DV at the current geometry. The power density at 280 kilometers range is insufficient to saturate the SPY-1D's adaptive nulling capability, which specifically addresses known jamming waveforms by identifying the interference direction and applying adaptive beamforming to null the jamming source while maintaining sensitivity in all other directions. But the attempt reveals the full scope of the Russian operation: GPS denial, P-8A radar jamming, and SPY-1D radar degradation, executed simultaneously, coordinated from a single operations center in Kaliningrad, aimed at producing navigational uncertainty, sensor degradation, and operational hesitation in a two-ship American task group, transiting waters that Russia considers a strategic priority zone. The EA-18G Growler was not assigned to this transit by accident. Call sign Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2, two EA-18G Growlers from Electronic Attack Squadron 134, operating from Ämari Air Base in Estonia under USAF/USN coordination, have been airborne since 0630 hours, orbiting at 28,000 feet in a holding pattern 80 nautical miles west of Gotland. Their presence on this mission was planned 11 days ago, when 6th Fleet's Electronic Warfare Cell assessed the probability of a Russian EW response to the Donald Cook and Laboon transit at greater than 70%, based on the pattern of Russian EW activations during previous American naval transits in the region. The EA-18G assignment was the standard counter-EW support measure that 6th Fleet applies to Baltic transits whenever the Russian EW threat probability assessment crosses the 60% threshold. Tonight, it crossed 70%. Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2 are here. The EA-18G Growler is the world's only dedicated airborne electronic attack aircraft, and its specific capability against the Russian EW order of battle in the Baltic is the product of 12 years of detailed technical collection, analysis, and counter-system development. The ALQ-99 jamming system and the next-generation jammer centerline pod aboard Voodoo 1 cover the frequency ranges of the R-330Zh GPS suppression transmitters, the Krasukha-4 airborne radar jamming system, and the Murmansk-BN's known operating frequencies simultaneously. The AN/ALQ-218 wideband receiver aboard both Growlers has been collecting and cataloging the precise frequency, power, and waveform parameters of every Russian EW emission since 0741 hours. Every emission parameter that the Russian systems reveal is immediately incorporated into the Growler's jamming response, tuning the counter jamming to the specific waveform characteristics of the systems being jammed rather than the approximate parameters derived from intelligence analysis alone. The Russian EW operators are, by activating their systems, providing the EA-18G with the most accurate possible characterization of their own technical parameters. An electronic intelligence gift that improves the Growler's counter-EW performance with every additional second of Russian emission. At 0749 hours, 8 minutes after the initial R-330Zh activation, Voodoo 1 activates its ALQ-99 jamming system against the R-330Zh GPS suppression frequencies. The Growler's jamming power in the L-band GPS frequencies, directed toward the Kaliningrad Oblast positions identified by the ALQ-218 receiver's direction finding analysis, does not neutralize the R-330Zh transmitters themselves. Those are ground-based systems inside Russian territory, beyond the range of kinetic engagement, and not the intended target of the Growler's electronic response. What the Growler's L-band jamming does is contaminate the R-330Zh's suppression field with a counter-signal that partially restores the GPS signal environment within the corridor of the transit route. The GPS receivers aboard the Donald Cook and Laboon show partial signal restoration at 0751 hours, not full GPS accuracy, because the R-330Zh power levels exceed the Growler's ability to fully counter them at this geometry, but sufficient for cross-validation against the inertial navigation solution, reducing the accumulated error in both ships' position solutions. The navigation teams on both ships note the partial restoration and continue with their established redundant navigation procedures. There is no operational disruption. Voodoo 2 simultaneously activates its counter-jamming against the Krasukha-4 emissions, targeting the P-8A Poseidon to the northeast. The Krasukha-4's airborne radar jamming operates in the X-band, the frequency range of the P-8A's AN/APY-10 surface search radar. The Growler's NGJ centerline pod generates a counter-jamming signal in the Krasukha-4's precise operating frequency, identified by the ALQ-218 direction-finding receiver within 34 seconds of the Krasukha-4's activation, that degrades the Krasukha-4's jamming effectiveness against the P-8A by an amount the classified engagement assessment later characterizes as substantial. The P-8A crew, who had noticed increased clutter in their radar picture at 0746 hours and queried Voodoo 2 via secure radio, confirms improved radar picture clarity at 0751 hours. The P-8A maintains continuous surveillance of the transit corridor throughout the engagement. No coverage gap was achieved. The Murmansk-BN jamming against the AN/SPY-1DV is addressed by the SPY-1D's own adaptive nulling software, a capability specifically developed to address the Murmansk-BN's known waveform characteristics based on decades of electronic intelligence collection against this system. The SPY-1D identifies the jamming source direction at 0747 hours, applies adaptive nulling in the bearing of the Kaliningrad Oblast position from which the jamming is emanating, and maintains full sensitivity in all other directions within 4 seconds of jamming onset. The Murmansk-BN's jamming achieves nothing against the SPY-1D's operational picture. Both ships maintain full situational awareness throughout. At 0754 hours, 13 minutes after the initial Russian EW activation, the full Russian electronic warfare package, 3 R-330Zh systems, 1 Krasukha-4, and the Murmansk-BN, is active and operating at its assessed maximum power output. The result, across all 3 systems simultaneously, is the following. The Donald Cook and Laboon are navigating to within 18 meters of true position on inertial systems. The P-8A is maintaining a clear radar picture with Voodoo 2's counter-jamming support. Both AN/SPY-1D-V radars are operating at full sensitivity with adaptive nulling applied to the Murmansk-BN bearing. Task Group 60.1 is proceeding northeast at 18 knots on its planned transit heading. Nothing has changed operationally. Nothing has been delayed. Nothing has been disrupted. The Russian Federation's most sophisticated ground-based electronic warfare architecture, operating at maximum output from positions in its only Baltic Sea territorial enclave, has produced 0 operational effect against 2 American destroyers and their supporting aircraft in 13 minutes of coordinated jamming activity. Now, let us examine what Russia was attempting to achieve and why the attempt failed, because the Russian concept is more sophisticated than a simple jamming effort, and its failure is therefore more instructive than it might initially appear. Russian electronic warfare doctrine, as documented in captured materials, open-source Russian military publications, and the operational pattern of EW deployment since 2014, does not primarily seek to blind American sensors or destroy American navigation capability through jamming alone. It seeks to create operational hesitation. The doctrine's underlying assumption is that American commanders, confronted with GPS denial, radar degradation, and communications interference simultaneously, will reduce speed, alter course, or request clarification of authority before proceeding, introducing a delay that can be exploited operationally, politically, or in information operations as evidence of American vulnerability and Russian deterrent capability. The Russian state media narrative that follows these EW activations, narrative that has been prepared and released within hours of every major EW event in the Baltic since 2018, consistently claims that American vessels were confused, disoriented, or forced to alter course by the Russian electronic attack. The operational hesitation that the EW is designed to create becomes, in the Russian information operation, evidence of decisive electronic dominance. This doctrine has one prerequisite: the American ships must hesitate. If they do not hesitate, if they continue their transit at planned speed on their planned heading with full navigational confidence and uninterrupted sensor capability, the information operation has no material to work with. The jamming is visible to the Russian operators. The American response, or the absence of any visible response, is also visible to the Russian operators. What they saw this morning from the Donald Cook and Laboon was two ships proceeding at 18 knots on a northeast heading for 41 minutes of continuous Russian EW activation, without any detectable change in speed, course, or operational profile. The Russian information operations team in Kaliningrad will have difficulty constructing a confused American destroyer's narrative from that material. They will try. Russian state media is creative and not encumbered by evidentiary standards. But the signal intelligence collection that NATO's electronic support measure infrastructure generates during these events provides an objective record of what happened that the alliance shares with member state media and diplomatic channels within hours of the event's conclusion. The record shows two ships navigating to within 18 meters of true position on inertial systems. The record shows a P-8A maintaining continuous radar coverage with counter-jamming support. The record shows two AN/SPY-1D radars operating at full sensitivity throughout. The record does not show hesitation. There is a deeper dimension to this engagement that deserves careful consideration. The Russian EW operation this morning has revealed, with greater precision than any previous collection event in the Baltic, the precise operating frequencies, power levels, waveform parameters, and geographic positions of three R-330Zh systems, one Krasukha-4, and the Murmansk-BN complex as currently configured. All of this information has been collected by the ALQ-218 receivers aboard Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2 and will be processed, analyzed, and incorporated into updated electronic order of battle databases within 72 hours. The next time an American surface group transits the Baltic, the EA-18G jamming response will be more precisely calibrated against Kaliningrad EW systems than it was this morning. The Russian systems will have become slightly more transparent to American counter-EW capability without knowing it. Every time Russia activates these systems, it is providing an electronic intelligence update to the organization that will use that intelligence to defeat the systems more effectively the next time. This is a fundamental strategic problem for any power that relies on electronic warfare as a deterrent tool. The deterrent value of the capability is maximum before it is used and declines with each operational employment, while the adversary's counter capability improves with each observation. Russia has been operating its Baltic EW systems extensively since 2018 in response to exactly the kind of American naval transits that Task Group 60.1 represents. Each activation has contributed to the NATO electronic intelligence picture that enables the responses demonstrated this morning. This morning's response is more effective than the response in 2021 because of what was collected in 2021. The 2026 response will be more effective than this morning's because of what was collected this morning. The USS Donald Cook and USS Laboon crossed the 60th meridian at 0832 hours, 51 minutes after the initial Russian EW activation began. Both ships are at 18 knots, on heading, with full navigational accuracy and full sensor capability. The Russian EW systems are still active. They have been active for 51 minutes. The 41 minutes of overlap between their maximum output and the full EA-18G counter-jamming response produced no operational effect on either ship. The 11 minutes between activation and Voodoo 1's counter-jamming response produced navigational redundancy operations that the bridge teams executed with the smooth efficiency of procedures trained 50 times in simulation and twice in operational deployments. Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2 returned to Ämari at 0847 hours, their ALQ-218 data recorders holding 41 minutes of the most operationally significant electronic intelligence collected against the Kaliningrad EW infrastructure in the current deployment cycle. The updated emission parameters will be incorporated into the next-generation jammers threat library within 72 hours. The Donald Cook's officer of the deck makes a notation in the ship's deck log at 0832 hours. Continuous Russian electronic jamming activity from Kaliningrad Oblast throughout transit. No operational effect. Navigation maintained on inertial systems throughout. GPS signal partial restoration achieved at 0751. Full restoration at 0823 following cessation of jamming in R-330Zh frequency bands. The entry is 2 sentences. It describes 41 minutes of the Russian Baltic Fleet's most sophisticated electronic attack capability, applied against 2 American destroyers with the detached factual precision of a watch officer noting a weather change. 2 sentences. 41 minutes. No operational effect. Russia deployed its most advanced ground-based electronic warfare systems against 2 American destroyers in the Baltic Sea and produced no navigational disruption, no sensor degradation, no operational hesitation, and no detectable change in the task group's speed, course, or mission performance. What it produced was 41 minutes of exceptionally precise electronic intelligence about its own systems, collected at no cost by the organization that will use that intelligence to defeat those systems more effectively every time they are used in the future. The Baltic Sea has been an American operational environment since the alliance that protects it was formed. The Donald Cook and Laboon reached their objective area on schedule. The R-330Zh is still transmitting. Nobody in the Donald Cook's CIC is paying attention to it. Bye for now.